Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1 for this, our reactions to the Miami Grand Prix, a race of two halves. The first half, absolute cinema, some fantastic driving, some fantastic drama. Then the second half, might as well have gone to bed. And it's getting late here in the UK. It was touch and go at one point. I got to about lap 46 and I was like, my goodness, I might just fall asleep. But I powered through and I got to the end of the race. Here we are. We'll talk about all of it right now. But before that, remember to like and subscribe. And a huge shout out to the members: Dakota, The Joyous James, Ryan Myers, Cinnamon Strudel, Michael Johnson, Mr. Eurovision 1986, Philip Doganzik, Flandy Skick, and No Edam on Sandwiches. If you want to become a member, click the link in the description on the YouTube or on the Patreon. But let's talk about the race, because it's not very often that the highlight of the race happens before the race even begins. But in a race of quite a few highlights, none of them were better than the driver parade in the Lego Formula One cars. Absolutely incredible. Now, I'm not a marketing man, I'm not an advertising man, but never in my life have I seen brand integration better than this. We know that F1 and Lego have been partners for a little while now. I've got a few Lego cars that I've built. I've got a Red Bull one over there, and the McLaren one, the Senna one's there as well, if you can see that there. There's a little Ferrari around the corner. I got the Nigel Mansell one for my birthday yesterday. Can't wait to go and build that. Maybe tomorrow, Bank Holiday Monday. It's been a wonderful partnership up until now with what they've already released. Now, there's Duplo for the kids. There's the Technic one for those people who understand what a steering column is. There's the classic cars, the Senna, the Nigel Mansell. There's the modern cars. It's all going really well. This is the crown of all crowns upon this partnership. To see the drivers drive around the track in full-size Lego Formula One cars was amazing. What also added to it is you could tell they were all having the time of their lives. They were all crashing into each other. There was Lego all over the track. They all had a wonderful, wonderful time. Far, far better than just stood on the back of a truck, occasionally waving, but mostly just talking to each other or being on their phones. And I saw some absolute stick-in-the-mud, old man mentality online. Oh, bloody hell. Oh, this is... You wouldn't see bloody James Hunt doing this. James Hunt would have done this in his pants, and he would have loved it. If you hate the Lego Formula One cars, you hate fun, you're not welcome here. It was fantastic. Let's talk about the actual race, though. Max Verstappen was on pole. Lando Norris was alongside him. Our World Championship leader, Oscar Piastri, was in fourth place with the sprint pole sitter, and Kimi Antonelli in front of him in third place. As for the rest of the grid, the only change was Gasly, now starting from the pit lane. I think he qualified 18th, had a setup change from there. Tyre watch, hard tyres for Russell, Hamilton, Lawson, Hulkenberg, Alonso and Behrman. Everyone else on the mediums. There are threats of rain from the start of this. It had rained throughout the day. The Formula 1 Academy race from earlier today was cancelled because the rain was so heavy. There is a full-on video talking about all things F1 Academy from this weekend on the channel if you want to watch that after you've watched this, of course. But yeah, there has been heavy rain earlier today. You can see little puddles here and there at the start of the race. Overall, though, there is threats of rain. Nothing else comes. It's a dry race from here on out. But as we get started, my goodness, let's talk about this. So, it's a good start for Max, who does get away in front of Lando Norris, but into turn 1, has a lockup. Lando Norris comes alongside him, then through turn 2, Max has a huge kick of oversteer, slides across, pushes Lando out wide, which forces Lando off the track, and Lando goes down all the way to 6th place. Max keeps the lead. This is probably the most controversial moment of the race, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, at this point I have no idea what the rules of engagement are, because they say they're consistent, but it seems to change every single race at the minute. You know, the Saudi one made perfect sense, you know. You could argue that Oscar pushed Max off the track if you wanted to do that. You could argue that Max was never going to make the corner. At the end of the day, Max overtook off the track, penalty, slam dunk, over, sorted. In this one here, I have no idea. In the end, they do not give a penalty. They just call it a racing incident, no further investigation needed. You could very easily argue that Max pushed Lando off the track, but you could also argue that it wasn't a purposefully aggressive move. It was just the car had a massive kick of oversteer. But does that even matter in this situation? Does it matter that it wasn't a purposeful move? Who knows anymore? There's been so many changes to these rules that I have no idea what's actually going on. At the end of the day, there was no further investigation from here, but people will point to this moment and say, that's where Lando Norris lost this race. I would personally disagree, but this is one of the moments that led to Lando Norris losing this race. Because from here, Lando Norris has tremendous pace to get back through the grid, as we will talk about here. But yeah, there'll be some going for Max's head here, saying that he definitely deserved a penalty. There'll be some saying that he didn't. I find myself in the middle at this point, which isn't a great place to be for someone who shares their opinion on the internet, because I really do not know what the rules are right now, which is not a great position to be in as a fan, where you're watching it. Like, I watched that, and I was just like, I don't know. I have no idea. If they give a penalty, I'll go, yeah, okay. If they don't give a penalty, I'll go, oh, yeah, okay. There needs to be clarity around this. I feel in the quest for clarity about wheel-to-wheel racing, it's got more confusing. I feel like this time last year we had a better understanding of what was going on than we do now, and I feel like it's not going to get any clearer anytime soon. So let's just move on, because there is an incident further down the grid between Liam Lawson and Jack Doohan. Realistically here, for me, this is just your open-shut case of a racing incident, really. There's two guys going into the first corner. There was about 3 or 4 cars around at this point. Doohan had a puncture. Lawson has a hole in his car. He has to retire later on in the race. There's a virtual safety car here because Jack Doohan is out of the race. If you're watching my sprint reaction yesterday, you'll know that I was saying that I put my no negative chip on F1 Fantasy. For those of you who don't play F1 Fantasy, it means that any negative points that you get in the race get erased. And I didn't know if it was going to work out for me or not this weekend. My God, thank God, I put no negative on, because Jack Doohan was in my fantasy team, Ollie Behrman was in my fantasy team, and Gabriel Bortoleto was in my fantasy team. So I saved myself about minus 60 points of penalties this weekend by doing that no negative chip. I'm still not in the lead of my friends' fantasy group, I imagine, but there you go, that's by the by. Virtual safety car ends on lap 4. Kimi Antonelli had been able to get up to P2 before the virtual safety car, but that does not last long. Piastri has passed him very quickly, and then just behind, Norris has passed Albon for P5. Now we have Piastri is just on it at this point. Fast start for him. He's within a second of Verstappen by lap 5. We have George Russell all over the back of Kimi Antonelli by lap 6. This is when we start getting these radar messages of heavy rain being predicted. It never ever arrives. Norris passed Antonelli for P3 on lap 9. P3? That can't be right. Was that right? Yes, it was. He got past Russell earlier. Sorry, ignore me there. And now we get Piastri challenging Verstappen on lap 10. And my goodness, this was incredible driving from both men here, but especially from Max Verstappen. Because as we see as this race goes on, the McLaren is insanely quick. So much quicker than the rest of the field. But the defensive driving Verstappen does here in a car which seems to be incredibly temperamental. We get a wonderful little moment where Verstappen's forcing Piastri off to the outside of turn 1 to keep the place. Just placing the car perfectly every single time. Beautiful defending. The point here where Piastri does get past, Max once again defends really well, but these brakes, which is he just not agreeing with him at all. He's defending into turn 1 on the inside line, then locks up, goes too deep. Piastri reads it perfectly as well. Gives him just the amount of space to make the mistake. gets the cutback and goes through into the lead. Fantastic stuff there. I think they were only fighting for like 2 or 3 laps, but it was beautiful from both of them. Really good stuff. But it was not over for Max, because just as Piastri gets through, Lando Norris is here, right on his backside. Meanwhile, further down, Albon is complaining of a water pressure issue. Apparently, this did fix itself, and he went on to finish quite well. So that was fine from there. Now, here's when I believe Lando Norris lost this race. Because you could always point to that lap 1, turn 1 incident, and of course that will have had a massive effect. But for me, this is where he lost the race. Because whilst we saw Piastri fighting hard, fighting aggressively, but still fighting fairly to get past Max relatively quickly, Lando Norris, I feel at this point, was far too cautious. In the same way that I felt in qualifying, he was far too cautious. If you look at the video that F1 produced afterwards of the Ghost lap, you're on board with Norris whilst Verstappen's Ghost car is going round. You can tell Max is far more aggressive into the corners, especially in Sector 1, whereas Lando seems to just be incredibly cautious, does not want to make any mistake, and I think that costs him, and I think it costs it here, because he's on the back of Verstappen, but Piastri in that free air is already 5.5 seconds ahead of Verstappen, and that's before Lando has even got past him. This is when he just lets him go. And Verstappen, as we know, is in a far slower car, but what we see at the end of the race, the times between these cars were absolutely mental. He's just giving that time away. At one point we see, we were watching a replay, we come back, Norris is ahead of Max. It turns out into turn 11, he went down the inside, both of them went off the track. Lando has to give that position back, and he does do into the final corner. But then the next lap is lap 18, and Lando passes Max much cleaner this time, entirely fine. To be honest with you, on this lap 18, it almost looked like Max had realistically given up. I think he'd realised that the McLarens were far quicker, and he'd just seen Antonelli in his mirrors, thinking, if I fight with the McLaren here much longer, I'm going to ruin my tyres, and then the Mercedes isn't too far behind, I might lose that position well, and that's a fight I could actually win. So Lando does get past on lap 18, but, you know, it's just like, it's saying, at this point, how far, did I write down how far Piastri? Piastri was 9 seconds ahead, so I think it was only, again, 3 or 4 laps. But in those 3 or 4 laps, Piastri gained 9 seconds on Lando Norris. And I think if Lando had maybe just been a bit more aggressive and took a bit more of a risk, maybe that gap could have been a bit closer. Maybe they could have fought to the end from there. But for me, that's where that race was over. Bortoleto was the first to pit on lap 20. I thought, because at this point they're still reporting that rain is imminent, I thought, well, if the rain comes, he's taking a real risk here, and this is going to screw him over. Thankfully for him, there was no rain. There was some fantastic wheel-to-wheel racing between Hamilton and Ocon at this point. Ocon keeps the place. This was for 10th at this point on lap 23, but some beautiful racing yet again here at this track. Just really good from both guys. Antonelli pits from 4th on lap 26. But then he gets held as Sainz also comes in through the pit lane. Antonelli at the start of this race was really in contention, I feel, for those top places, at least, you know, the bottom step of the podium. No one was really in contention for the McLarens this weekend. But in that contention, I feel the virtual safety car that comes out pretty soon is the thing that screwed him over. A couple laps later, Verstappen pits. I think they were trying to go for the undercut with Antonelli, but that, because he was held for at least 2 seconds because of Sainz, that really just ruined any chances he had from there. Verstappen pits and comes out ahead by quite some margin. Albon pits on lap 22 for the hards, and this when Ollie Behrman is out on lap 29, brings out a virtual safety car. It looked like it's like an engine failure, complete failure for Ollie Behrman. Thankfully, my fancy team was not hit as badly as it would have been. which is the most important thing, of course. Hamilton pits, McLaren do a double stack, which was a pretty obvious move for them at this point because there was 9 seconds between the two of them, so no real risk there. George Russell is the big gainer, though, here. Pits on lap 30 to the medium tyres. It's a slow stop as well, a 4.5 second stop, but because of that virtual safety car, comes out ahead of Antonelli, comes out ahead of Max Verstappen, comes out in 3rd place. So the virtual safety car really working well for George Russell from there. There's a beautiful move from Alex Albon on Kimi Antonelli into turn 1 for P5 on lap 31. I feel that virtual safety car is the moment where Antonelli's race changed, because that's when he realistically disappeared. He was in that top 4 for a lot of the start of this race, of course, P2 after the first lap. But after that virtual safety car, Russell had got the jump on him. It had gone wrong trying to undercut Verstappen, and now he's here fighting with the Williams, and he didn't really have the pace of them either. So Antonelli quite anonymous from here on out. There's a 5-second penalty for Yuki Tsunoda for speeding in the pit lane. Then we get another virtual safety car because Gabriel Bortoleto is out, another member of my fantasy team. When that virtual safety car ends, we get what was so close to being overtake of the year, because we have Carlos Sainz in the Williams and Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari going wheel to wheel from the back straight into turn 1. Some absolutely beautiful racing from the two of them. But as they go into turn 1, Lewis Hamilton is not too far behind. He sees them fighting and goes, you know what, I'll have a bit of this as well. Goes for an incredible dive bomb, and it looks like for a moment he's got both of them. He didn't. Leclerc got past Hamilton. Leclerc got past Sainz. Hamilton got past Sainz, was wheel to wheel with Leclerc, but Leclerc just comes out ahead. So they both got past the Williams, but it looked like it was almost a double overtake for Lewis Hamilton there. It was almost the overtake of the year. We're only, what is this, race 6, race 7? It was almost beautiful. It was still beautiful, but it could have been even better. That was on lap 34. And, I saw some people were like, oh, that was so close to being Frugos Hamilton. I am a Frugos Hamilton hater. I think that overtake is the most overrated overtake of all time. He does nothing. He just follows the racing line, then Sergio Perez and Charles Leclerc go off the track, and 2 corners later, he loses both positions. It is the most overrated overtake of all time. If he had made that move, Frugos Hamilton would have been gone forever, because that would have been a beautiful masterpiece in comparison to the fraudulent overtake of Frugos Hamilton. That's a debate for another time. So, lap 36. This is when the fun stops for the Ferrari team. Because Lewis Hamilton has got some tremendous pace at this point, but is also on the medium tyres compared to Charles Leclerc's hard tyres, and says that he's burning up his tyres in the dirty air of Leclerc, and is basically asking for team orders. In the wonderful way that Formula 1 drivers do, instead of just going on the radio and saying, we need to swap positions, or we need team orders here, they just go, oh, I'm quick. I'm so much quicker. Oh, I'm quick. Imagine the speeds I could show. If only I was in front. So we get this on lap 36. It starts on lap 36. In between this debate, Lawson retires the car. We see he does have a hole in his side pod from the incident with Doohan on lap 1. Did not go too well for Liam Lawson this weekend. On lap 39... 3 laps later, Ferrari finally do the thing that we've been asking to do for 3 laps and switch the positions. Wonderful moment on the radio where Hamilton is trying to argue with it, and they get the classic Ferrari, we are checking, and he's like, well, are you having a tea party there as well or something? Or tea break, did he ask? Should have said for tea party. See, the thing is, when someone asks their engineer, are you having a tea break? You think, well, that's got to be the radio message of the day. It wasn't. It was P2. There's an even better radio message from Lewis Hamilton later on. Made me laugh out loud. But yeah, 3 laps it took for Ferrari to decide to switch the cars. 3 laps of Lewis Hamilton being stuck behind Charles Leclerc, just ruining his tyres. 3 laps for Kimi Antonelli to try and run away a little bit more. So, they swap the cars. And then, 10 laps later, on lap 49, Charles Leclerc is now all over the back of Lewis Hamilton because the switchover of those tyre compounds has already happened, and the hard tyres are now faster than the medium tyres. And on lap 52, so Leclerc asks for team orders again on lap 48, so he's had 10 laps of being behind Lewis Hamilton's car. And then on lap 52, Hamilton is told to switch the cars back. So from Leclerc asking to it being told to Hamilton, it is 4 laps. Actually, no, it was 5 laps, because they told Leclerc that, yes, we will swap the cars. Then they went to Hamilton, hey, Lewis, do you fancy swapping the cars? Which is not the way you do it. You do it the opposite way around. You determine that the driver is happy to swap the cars before you tell the other driver that you're going to swap the cars. Then he lets him past, and we get the radio message of the day, where they say, okay, thanks, Lewis, Sainz is 1.4 seconds behind you. And he says, would you like me to let him past as well? It is the most sassy I've ever heard Lewis Hamilton on the radio. It made me laugh out loud. It might be the funniest radio message I've heard in a very long time. It was beautiful. I loved it so much. It was fantastic. But, aside from very funny Ferrari radio messages, there's a huge issue here. This is just awful. This is dreadful. So, on the surface, what this is Ferrari not wanting to pick a number 1 driver. They don't want to pick a number 1 between Leclerc and Hamilton. They don't want to be showing favouritism between either of them. But the issue is here, if you had just switch the cars instantly, that's not showing favouritism. That's not showing we prefer this driver over this driver. That's just doing what's best for the team. In total, in this race, Ferrari spent 9 of the, 57 laps determining if they should do team orders. They weren't even 9 laps in a row. They were 9 laps across the race. That's a huge amount of time they spent just having a little conversation, deciding what they're going to do. And in that time, here's what happened. On the initial one, Lewis is faster than Charles Leclerc. But they spent 4 laps determining if the faster car should be in front. By the time they've done that, Lewis has had 4 laps of dirty air, 4 laps of his tyres being worn away, to the point that, right, there you go, now you go in front, oh, the tyres are gone. Oh, fantastic. So now you can't attack either. So then you have Charles Leclerc, who is never that far behind because, Lewis's tyres are gone at this point. So then he's then behind, and he's behind for 10 laps, and he goes, hey lads, this doesn't appear to be working out. How about we swap them back? And Ferrari go, okay, Charles, we are checking. And then we have 5 laps of checking, to the point that now Charles Leclerc is in the dirty air. Charles Leclerc's tyres are being set on fire. Charles Leclerc's tyres are falling off the cliff. So that we have 5 laps of that. Then they go, okay, Charles, you go in front, go attack Kimi Antonelli. Oh, what's that? You can't, because your tyres are dead. So the Ferrari just go, well, you had pace, but now you don't. And then, oh, you have pace. Oh, but now you don't. And we ruined both of it because we're incompetent and our car still looks dreadful and it's not a blue livery. An awful, awful weekend for Ferrari, who were just plain incompetent at this point because this was utterly, utterly ridiculous. Just throwaway points. For what? For nothing. Oh, it's embarrassing. And after the race, both of them are silent on the radio. What you've got there is you've gone, you know what, we'll be political, we won't favour anyone, we don't want to upset anyone. Guess what? You've now got 2 furious drivers who don't want to be there anymore. It's been a dreadful year for Ferrari, and it continues to get worse. And next is Imola. Best of luck. My God, awful stuff from Ferrari. But let's go back to the front of the grid, because as we cross the line, Oscar Piastri wins the Miami Grand Prix, taking his 6th Formula 1 win of his career, which means for the first time ever he now has more wins than his teammate Lando Norris. This is also his 3rd race win in a row, which puts him with Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso as the only drivers to have 3 race wins in a row on the grid. So it's the world champions and him. As for that, in terms of McLaren, the last time a McLaren driver took 3 wins in a row was Mika Hakkinen in 1998. And I had to look it up. The Mika Hakkinen one, the first win, was in 97, and the 2 other wins were in 1998. So I thought, I'll have a look. So let's see when the last time a McLaren driver won 3 races in a row, with all 3 of those races being in the same season. You have to go back to 1991 and Ayrton Senna to see a McLaren driver winning 3 races in a row in the same season. I wouldn't be born for another 5 years. My mum and dad were not married the last time a McLaren driver won 3 races in a row in the same season. Absolute madness, but Oscar Piastri has done it there. A tremendous win, an incredibly dominant win, where he showed basically everything you need to be a world champion. I mean, it wasn't a good qualifying. Should have been far better than 4th. But in that race alone, he took it to Max Verstappen and won, and then just dominated with ease. Just made it look easy. In second place was Lando Norris. Again, I feel he was too cautious. He was too cautious in qualifying, and he was too cautious in this race here, especially when attacking Max, which I feel led to the second place here. But on the whole, if you can't win, finish second. That's what he did. So overall, a good race from Lando Norris, which could have been better, but there you go. A good race, nonetheless. George Russell does it again. He finishes in 3rd place. George Russell turns up, does nothing on the podium. Fantastic stuff from George Russell, who continues, I feel, to be a contender for driver of the season. Really good stuff. He was 33 seconds behind, which I don't think is the downside of him, but more how fast those McLarens are. But still, a great race from George. I mean, massively benefited from the virtual safety car, but at the end of the race, Max was just under 2 seconds behind him at all times, and he just managed that really well. Got to save the race. Max Verstappen comes home in 4th, which means that his 100% podium rate at Miami is over. So no driver has now been on every single podium in the Miami Grand Prix. For him, I feel this is still a good result. I'll be honest with you. I know pole to 4th does not sound great, but realistically, those 2 McLarens were unbelievably fast, and the fact that he got pole in the first place is a miracle. And then from there, I thought there was fantastic driving against Piastri at the start of this race. Some great driving against Norris as well. Lost out to Russell because of a virtual safety car. And then from there, Russell on the faster tyres, it just wasn't going to work. So I feel 4th, still a great position for Max to be in. I mean, in terms of the championship, I think he's now over 30 points behind Oscar Piastri, which is a mad place for Max Verstappen to be. But who knows how that'll go from the end to the end of the season. In 5th place is Alexander Albon. Fantastic from him. I mean, in the sprints, I thought he was amazing to finish 4th. Then he got that ridiculous safety car penalty, which I thought was just stupid. But here, 5th place, he's been fantastic all weekend. Really incredible. My driver of the day for sure, Alexander Albon. I have no idea who the real driver of the day was, but based on how driver of the day has gone this year, it's probably going to be like Nico Hülkenberg or someone. But for me, Alex Albon, absolutely fantastic. Kimi Antonelli in 6th place. As I said, fantastic start to the race, but after that virtual safety car, I think he just fell down from there and just had a bit of a more anonymous second half, but still some good points. You have the 2 furious Ferraris, Charles Leclerc in 7th, Lewis Hamilton in 8th. Carlos Sainz went for quite a ambitious move on Lewis Hamilton into the final corner. He ends up finishing 9th, just 3 tenths behind Lewis Hamilton. He is being investigated for that move. You know what? I feel it's a bit of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, if I'm perfectly honest with you. Because you feel, yeah, it was a long way back, but Lewis did turn into him, I think, a little bit there. So who knows how that one could play out. We can never predict what the stewards are going to give at this point. Who knows? Yuki Tsunoda crossed the line in 10th, had that 5-second penalty, but manages to stay in 10th place to pick up the last point. Isaac Hadjar missing out by just 0.10. Isaac Hadjar missing out by 0.168 of a second in 11th. Esteban Ocon is 12th, Gasly is 13th, Hulkenberg in 14th, then it's the two Astons, Alonso 15th, Stroll in 16th, then 4 DNFs on the day, Lawson, Bortoletto, Behrman, Doohan, all DNF. There you go. That is the Miami Grand Prix. My goodness, there was a lot to talk about there. I've spoken for half an hour about that, and I really want to go to bed. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll see you tomorrow, though, for all things driver ratings. And on Tuesday, we're going back to 1981 with the retro review of 1981, the British Grand Prix. I will see you there for all of it. Until next time, have a good one. Goodbye.